This is where business ideas and passions turn into profit. Whether you're dreaming of becoming your own boss but don't know how to get started, or have already started a side hustle and wish to grow it exponentially, your host, Victoria Wieck, can help you turn your passion-based business ideas into profit. Welcome to Million Dollar Passion. Here is your host, world-renowned jewelry designer and home shopping TV celebrity, Victoria Wieck.
Hi out there. Welcome to the Million Dollar Passion Podcast. So this week, we're in the middle of a series, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, talking about how you turn your passion and purpose into a profitable business and build yourself a nice little empire that you can sustain. So this week, we're going to talk about optimizing your business idea. So in my book called The Million Dollar Passion book that's coming up, this chapter is called Optimize to Maximize. So maximizing your business idea in terms of how you use your time efficiently so that you're actually working the least number of hours and making the most amount of profits. So let's get right down to the various ways you can achieve your desired profits and experience explosive growth that's sustainable. And I love the word sustainable in this phrase because it's really important that you achieve fast, explosive, but controllable growth. So the growth that you control. So if you're growing out of control, there is a phenomenon called the growing broke as opposed to going broke. And when I was at HSN, I saw so many entrepreneurs, and I'm talking hundreds, probably a couple of hundred people that achieved beyond their dreams. You know, they were doing somewhere between $2 to $10 million a year, and they grew broke. It literally grew broke. And we're going to talk. Maybe I'll actually do an episode on how people actually grow broke. But right now, let's focus on growing controlled growth. So here are just basic. This is a pretty basic. You know, a lot of you maybe actually have some portions of this already in your business, or some idea of how you achieve the various different business models. So I'm just going to get right down to business here. There are, I would say, four major business models. There are different people use different terminologies for this. But there are basically four different ways you can actually achieve the explosive but sustainable growth. Number one is business to consumer. So you're selling mostly to individual consumers. If you're a hairdresser and you're cutting hair, you know, and your clients are mostly women in your neighborhood coming to get their haircut, that would be considered business to consumer. Or if you are there's, you know, a restaurant, for example, that would be business to consumer. Business to business is that encompasses whole, you know, if you're a manufacturer and you're selling to retailers, that would be considered business to business. If you're a manufacturer selling to wholesalers, if you are a manufacturer, or if you're an exporter, somebody who goes to one business, maybe you don't even manufacture the stuff yourself, but maybe you have expertise in exporting. You understand laws of different countries, understand freight rates and all that stuff, customs duties, and you are helping a bunch of business people pick their products overseas. It could be to Europe, Asia, South America, wherever. So that would be considered business to business. You could also be, if you're a hairdresser and you wanted to create your own, you know, like a shampoo line, and you want to sell it to a department store, that would be considered business to business. There's obviously a combination business where you can sell to business to consumer, a portion of it, like the hairdresser was an example. She's selling her haircutting services to consumers, but also selling her shampoo products to, let's say, other hairdressers. That could be a business to business, or to a department store, or, you know, on TV or whatever. And then the fourth model is becoming an affiliate for someone, or having affiliates under your umbrella. So that is sort of a new phenomenon that happened. I'd say it's always kind of been around, but it really kind of exploded in the 1990s with the dot-com bubble. That's one of the things that actually came out of that dot-com bubble that stayed with us, and that's benefiting a lot of businesses. So let's talk about the pros and cons of doing each business model. But before I even get there, I want to explain to you the most important thing before you even talk about the business to any business model you have is to really understand who your ideal target market is. Okay. Who's going to actually use your products? And what does that person want? How do they shop? Where do they shop? What times, of the year do they shop? Times of the day do they shop? And where do they congregate in very large numbers? For example, if you find out, let's say you are selling fitness classes, okay, you're selling, you're running a business as a yoga studio, and you find out that they really want, sort of like a Zen type of environment, but they also, want somebody who's really on time. They don't want to pay more than, let's say, $15 per class, and they don't want to have any more than 20 people per class. I mean, there's all these requirements people want to have ideally. If you understand that, and then you want to come up with like yoga clothing, for example, you understand who they are and what they want to pay, how often do they actually use, yoga products, right? If you understand all of this, and let's say you find out that, in your neighborhood, a lot of them live in a certain area of town, okay? That gives you a lot of information to work with. So understand who your target market is. Like, for example, for my jewelry business, I actually have several combinations of several of these businesses. Number one, I do business to consumer. In my one of a kind business, we do concierge service for somebody who wants above and beyond, and they want something that's very unique for herself, and she's willing to pay a lot of money for this, something highly unusual. I have that business in the rachelandvictoria.com site. So it's rachelandvictoria.com. If you go there, you'll see what we're talking about there. Our average price point is about, I think our average price point there is about, I'd say like $10,000. We don't do volumes of them, but we do enough business where that's very, very profitable. Average price being 10,000, meaning that some things are 5,000, some things are 50,000, right? Business to consumer is the easiest because you just have to convince just a few people. You got, if you're a hairdresser, you gotta, maybe convince 10 people, do 10 people's hair, and then they talk to 10 other people. You go to the golf club or you go to a restaurant and say, oh my God, your hair, you got such a cute hairdo. Where'd you get that haircut? That kind of stuff. So it's very easy. That's how most people start their businesses, business to consumer. They know a few people who need your services, or you think you can sell enough to sustain yourself just to a few people without having to go through a lot of expense. But the drawback is you grow very slowly. I mean, because you run out of people that, the example that I gave, the first 10 people who then tell 10 more people, and then they all tell 10 more people. But even if you do all that, it's slow growth. You're not growing at 20, 30, 40% per month, for example. You might grow a little bit, but you're not really gonna build an empire in that model. Now, I know, having said that, I know people who have built their empires this way. That's a different type of business. They're very, very internet savvy. If you came up with like a tote bag for a photographer, and found a bunch of photographers who really needed a tote bag that organizes, that's lightweight, that makes sure that it keeps their professional camera equipment very safe, so they can check it in the airline, that kind of stuff. You can easily find photographers, conferences, associations, where they congregate, even on the internet, and then you can go and market to them. So I know people who have done that as well. So that, but for most people, the growth is very slow. You gotta, even in that example of photographer, you have to learn how to do the internet. You gotta come up with a great sales funnels. You really have to understand how many times you can touch them, and there's a whole other art to talking to consumers, because when you're doing business to consumer, more than the need, you're really talking about emotional connection, and you really need to connect with each person emotionally because they really need to fall in love with you, trust you, and really understand that they're getting something really special, right? So that's really tough. Business to business is tougher in the beginning, but you can grow faster. So in the example of the shampoo, let's say a hairdresser cutting hair, I don't know what haircuts cost in your area, but where I live in California, they go anywhere from I'd say $80 to $300-400 a haircut. Okay, so let's say in the best case scenario, you're charging $200, a haircut. You're still not, you know, since you're cutting your hair yourself, you might be able to do 8 people, I don't know, 10 people a day. So it still limits you to how many, how much money you can make. You got to pay rent, you got to pay the shampoo person, all that stuff. So most people don't do, 10 customers a day, 7 days a week. So if you're working, let's say you're averaging, 5, 6 a day, and you're charging $100, right? And you're working 5 days a week, let's say Tuesday through Sunday, or I don't know, Monday through Saturday, or 6 days a week. You're paying rent, you're doing all that stuff, so you can make a profit, but you can't grow that fast. But if you're coming up with a your own unique shampoo, product, and it sells really well, and you were selling to I don't know, a hair beauty salons, for example, you might sell 1,000 bottles at a time. You might sell 10,000 at a time. If you're on TV, you might sell 30,000 bottles at a time. When you do, as you can see, you can grow very, very fast. Even if you're making a lot less money, let's say you're making, I don't know, $4 a bottle of shampoo, and you're selling 10,000 of them. That's 40 grand. That's a lot of money. So you can grow very, very fast, but attracting businesses so that they can make money, because businesses don't care what you actually really sell. They really want to, if you give them a plan where they can make more money with your products than other people that they're currently carrying, they'll try you out. So that's tougher to attract in the beginning, but you can get economies of scale, meaning that you can also buy your ingredients. If you want to buy a single bottle of shampoo bottle, you can go to Ulta, you can go to I don't know, a bottle supplier. They'll sell you a bottle for $2, $3, $4 a bottle, plastic bottles. But if you're doing 30,000 bottles at a time, you get them for literally 25 cents a bottle. That's how economies of scales work. So you can buy things, at a cheaper price, you can grow faster. You can do a combination of both. I gave you the example of the hairdresser. I do jewelry, so I do one of a kind, but then sometimes I'll, make it easy to manufacture by the thousands of them. So when I sell to TV stations, our runs are usually somewhere between 1,000 to 10,000 pieces. I mean, I've had occasionally pieces that we've sold like over 1 million pieces of that same item. As you can see, in my one of a kind business, because I'm looking for truly one of a kind unique stones, I don't get to buy them in large quantity because by the nature of that business, right? So we can charge the most amount of money for that one item that nobody can have except you. But if you do the business to business model where I could get a ton of like a blue topaz amethyst, things are very plentiful. I can get, I don't know, 5,000-10,000 pieces at a time, where I can make, even if you only make $10 a piece, that's a lot of money to make, right? So you can do a combination of both, but not with the exact same product. That's really important because most of your customers aren't going to like it that they sell to you. Let's say you sell to somebody for $10 a bottle, so they sell it for $25 a bottle, but then you sell to your consumer at $18 a bottle. You're kind of undercutting yourself. So they don't like it. In fact, if they know that you're going directly to the consumers for anything less than what they're selling it for at any time, they won't carry you. In fact, they want to see that they're actually selling it lower than what you're selling to your consumer. So when you're selling on your website for $25, make sure that the business people that you're selling to can meet their margins. Let's say they want to make double the money. And in most cases, they actually want to make more than double the money. They want to get like a 70% margin. So something like $18, you'd have to give it to them for like $6.50. or $7 max. So you can see how, you know, the margins are a lot smaller. But if your actual cost, let's say, is like $5, it still makes sense to go at least both or do the business to business model. The combination of the two, the challenge there is that when you do let's back up a little bit, going to business. If you're going to do business to business, it's really tough. A lot of times you're going to end up with sales reps that specialize in that part of the business because you're running your business. You're actually manufacturing. You're doing all this stuff. You're making sure that people show up to work. You're making sure that, things are shipped out on time. So you can't be traveling all the time looking for businesses. Typically speaking, you hire somebody who's got expertise, who has called, a lot of times these are executives that used to work at Nordstrom's or work at, used to be a VP of some division at a huge major store that's networked with other department stores that now they're like now consulting, and you can actually hire them for a percentage of the cut, that kind of stuff. So, business to business, like I said, it's tougher because of the added layer of personnel, or added layer of the type of personnel you're going to have to attract to get that business. The combination of the two, the challenge is that most of your business partners or business customers, like a Nordstrom's or a TV station, they want to see if you carry it at all elsewhere, they want to be the cheapest. Okay, because right now consumers can Google all day long. So separating what you're selling to customer A, what I did was in jewelry, it's very easy to do because it's, even though it's the same brand name, styles can be very different. I can design a completely separate collection of jewelry for Saks that I don't do for Neiman's. But many of you don't have that option. Many of you have, if you've got shampoo, you can't say, well, I'm selling, my shampoo with, with the purple bottle here and with the yellow bottle somewhere else. So that becomes a little challenging. In some cases, depending on how big that retail customer is, they may actually limit who else you sell to. So it becomes a little tougher game. So, and I'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about scaling our businesses in a couple of weeks. And then affiliates, that's I would say you could actually do a combination of all three. You could actually get an affiliate or a bunch of affiliates to you. An example I'm going to give you is that if you're selling some sort of weight loss program, you're selling cryotherapy, or you're selling, you got your own way of losing weight. And then let's say you're also recommending that ideally that they do some sort of exercise, right? But you're not a fitness instructor, and you don't want to open a fitness store, right? You don't want to have you don't even want to be responsible for that. There's a whole liability that comes with that kind of stuff. So you could easily then, if let's say you own a cryotherapy slash, a weight loss center, and you see 4 blocks down the street, there's a bunch of, yoga, Pilates place, or there could be, a cardio, a gym. You could easily recommend them and you could actually even sell them as a package and get a cut from that studio. The studio also might do it the other way around, where they can sell a package and give you a cut. Or, if you are selling, let's say, facials, this happens a lot, like facials, laser treatments, which is like exploding. A lot of people want to take care of themselves, their bodies. And, out here in California, that's a huge thing. A lot of times, I actually have a friend who does this. She's an esthetician. She's not a nurse or anything. She's an esthetician, and a lot of these medical spas need a doctor. So she actually would rent a space inside a doctor's office. And what she found out was that a lot of times a doctor, like a plastic surgeon or somebody who does gastro kind of a surgery, will package in a bunch of, laser slash facials and smoothing type of treatment. And so they then get a cut, right? So these are all what they call affiliates. You can easily recommend, if you're a hairdresser and you end up recommending a bunch of hair products that you don't sell, so you don't have to inventory them and buy them and, take a risk. But you could actually give them some, give another, company recommendation. And you might even have some of the samples at your place where they can then order it and you get a cut from that. You can actually, affiliates can, because the model is so easy to do that it would be a shame if you don't actually incorporate some portion of that in your business. So, and there's very little drawbacks to the affiliate model, to be honest, because usually the people that you're recommending will have their own. Here's the other thing: a lot of times you get customers that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So if you let somebody else become an affiliate of yours, let's say you're doing cryotherapy and you get somebody from, fitness centers, you get a bunch of people who you would have never gotten before, because until they got to you, they thought that all they got to do is exercise, but now they're actually doing all of the above. So a lot of times that's a source of new customer for you and them. It works out. That's a true win-win-win situation where the end user wins because she'll get the results she needs by incorporating weight loss and exercise. And then you win a little, you get a little extra money, and then, they get a little extra money that they wouldn't have gotten. So all those models actually, think about what kind of business model you want to have. Now, the thing that I want to talk about a little bit is give it really a lot of thought, because if you do business to consumer and you want to incorporate the business to business, what's going to happen is that you'll be able to buy even all the things that you're currently buying. Everything you're currently buying, you can buy cheaper because people see the potential that they can do a lot more business with you. So that's a huge benefit. But at the same time, though, it does come with the little strings. Like you do have added expense of hiring somebody who's sort of an expert in that area. The standards are higher when you're doing business to business. That business usually, like if you're a little jewelry designer like that I was, when I went to HSN standards, I had to deal with QA departments that were like just horrendously difficult to deal with. But I understand why they did that, because if you make a mistake on, if you're doing business with one-on-one and I'm making a piece of jewelry that falls apart, I made a mistake on the one piece. But if you do 10,000 pieces and you made a mistake, but the mistake is repeated 10,000 times, the cost is really high. So, all the standards go up high and your expenses go up high, but it's something that you might want to consider when you have a certain base of customers. So I just wanted to expose you a little bit to all the different business models. And if any of you have any questions about this, go ahead and write to me. It's vicwick@gmail.com, vicwick@gmail.com. Or you can sign up for any of my classes on my website. I go through all this pretty extensively because I've had personal experience with all of the models, all four. But I started as a business to consumer. Then I went to business consumer / business to business. Then I went to business to consumer plus business to business plus the affiliates. And I'm still currently in all of the above. And it's worked out pretty well. So just sign up for any of my classes on my website, which is victoriawieck.com. And then you'll see monthly webinars there. It's all free. Or you can visit the milliondollarpassion.com. And you'll see a bunch of, it's all about turning your passion into profits and sustain it and work fewer hours as a result of working more efficiently and effectively. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and leave me a review. And if you can give me a 5-star review, that'd be great. And please share this episode with at least one person that that could benefit from this, because that's how we multiply our voice and how we can serve our community better. And until next week, please have a great, safe and happy week. And remember, happiness is a choice. And I hope you make great choices this week. Thank you.
You've been listening to $1 Million Passion, where we turn dreams into reality and passion into profit. According to ancient Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Congratulations on taking that first step today. For more information on how Victoria can help you turn your business idea into $1 million and to download Victoria's free ebook on passion-based business ideas, visit milliondollarpassion.com. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast player.